Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here. And in today's video, we're going to be breaking down the NBA slate on Draftkings and Yahoo for Tuesday, March the 15th. We got a shorter slate today for Tuesday, just a 4-gamer. But as always, guys, we're going to talk through each one of these 4 games, break down each team, kind of give my early thoughts, what I do like, taking a first look at this slate on Monday night. And then as we do go through each game, we will build out an early core. We'll talk about 5 players that specifically do stand out to me at first look on both Draftkings and on Yahoo. Now, as always, guys, these are my first looks of the slate, and we saw on Monday, I had Marcus Morris in kind of as an early option that I liked a lot Monday, and surely enough, he didn't even play. He got ruled out. So you have to always pay attention to injury updates. You got to pay attention to news throughout the day. I do provide a lot more updated content over on Patreon. You can get access to all of my Patreon content. It's linked down below in the description. You can also get access to my Prize Picks plays, and we did have a really big day on Prize Picks for Patreon members. I gave out 6 picks for Patreon members on Prize Picks for Monday's slate, and we went 6-0. Got every single pick right, so definitely had a good day over there. If you guys want to check out Patreon, again, it's linked down below in the description. If you want to check out Prize Picks, they are the sponsor of this video. You can sign up for Prize Picks, use my promo code Noah, and they'll match your first deposit up to $100 when you do sign up with my code. Prize Picks is a player prop based DFS site. It's really simple. You're just picking the over or the under on players' projections. Again, it's a 4-game slate, so there's not really much up right now, but as we do get closer to tip-off on Tuesday night, they'll start to add a lot of props on the board. You'll see all the teams posted, and again, you can make your selections. You make at least 2 picks, but you can make up to 5 picks, and you can win up to 10 extra money over there. So definitely check out Prize Picks if you have not yet. Sign up, use code Noah, and if you guys want all of my favorite plays on Prize Picks, along with all of my other DFS content, I provide that on Patreon. Again, it's linked down below in the description. You can check that out if you're interested. But let's start off with the Memphis and Indiana game, and this is definitely the most appealing game on the slate, just because from the Memphis side, Ja Morant is doubtful for today. Ja Morant not expected to play. So with Ja Morant not expected to play, that really just opens up a ton of usage for everyone, and it's going to open up some value as well. Looking at guys like Desmond Bane, Jaren Jackson Jr., Dillon Brooks, I think all these guys are going to benefit. And I was actually looking at the rates this season with Ja Morant off the floor. The guy that actually gets the biggest bump in usage rate has been Jaren Jackson Jr. His usage rate goes up 5% with Ja off the floor this year, and his fantasy point per minute rates go up a lot as well. So Jaren Jackson Jr. has actually been the most productive. He's seen the biggest bump in production when Ja Morant's not on the floor. So I think Jaren Jackson Jr. at 6,500 looks like a really, really good play today, especially when you look at his numbers this season when Ja is not out there. Matchup against Indiana is fantastic. Indiana's defense has been terrible. I don't really worry about Triple J getting in foul trouble here. We know Triple J is a guy that gets in foul trouble a lot, but going up against like O'Shea Brissett and, I can't even think of the dude's name, Isaiah Jackson, like going up against those guys, like I'm not super worried about Triple J getting in foul trouble here. I think he'll play 32 minutes, and again, he's been really productive with Ja off the floor this year. So I really like Jaren Jackson Jr. at 6,500. I think he really stands out on this slate. He's very affordable on Yahoo, $24 over there. For sure, one of my favorite plays to target from this Memphis team. I think Desmond Bane also gets a boost. He's 6,700, so he's kind of priced appropriately, but there should be more shots coming his way. Definitely more opportunity. Don't have an issue going there. Steven Adams, I don't know if Steven Adams, his role really changes with Ja off the floor. We've seen Steven Adams have some big games this season. When he usually has big games because he gets a lot of rebounds. Maybe he'll get some assists. He's not a super high upside player, but matchup against Indiana is really good. I think in this spot, Steven Adams definitely offers some upside. But again, I don't know if his role really changes with Ja off the floor. I think Dillon Brooks gets a big bump, though. And we saw Dillon Brooks in his first game back from injury play 26 minutes. I'm guessing he plays a few more minutes today, especially with Ja out. I think they'll lean a little bit more on Dillon Brooks with Ja off the floor. So I definitely like Dillon Brooks today. I mean, $4,900 for Dillon Brooks is really cheap when you factor in, the rates that he should get without Ja. I mean, his usage should go up. He should be able to take more shots. His minutes should also see a slight boost as well. Dillon Brooks is not going to play like 36 minutes today. I'd be very surprised if he does. But I think 28 to 30 is very doable. And if he plays 30 minutes at $4,900, I feel pretty confident that Dillon Brooks is probably going to average around a fantasy point per minute, score around 30 DraftKings points, which is, at $4,900, that gets the job done. So I definitely like Dillon Brooks as a value play on this slate. He's a little bit more expensive on Yahoo, but I think his ownership will definitely be lower there. We'll talk about Buddy Hield on the other side of this game, though. I think I do prefer Buddy Hield for the same salary. But if you want to play Brooks on Yahoo, don't hate that. And then the value play, Tyus Jones, I'm expecting to start in place of Ja. Basically, every game that Ja has missed this year, Tyus Jones has started in place of Ja. And Tyus Jones been great when he's getting the opportunity. The last time Ja was out against the Pelicans on February 15th, we saw Tyus Jones start, play 32 minutes, have 44 DraftKings points. The guy just produces when he gets opportunity. He's 3,400. He's going to be probably 80% owned, but you almost just have to play Tyus Jones today. I mean, there's no way around it. He's the best value play on the slate. Points per dollar wise, he's the best play on the slate. At 3,400 on DK, he's just a lock and load for me on Yahoo. He's minimum salary, a lock and load for me over there as well. And that's probably it from Memphis. If you wanted to go to like D'Anthony Melton, don't hate it. Should be a few more minutes available for him without Ja. But again, at 4,500, I think he's priced appropriately, especially now that Dillon Brooks is back. I think my main targets from Memphis are obviously the three guys that I kind of have in the early core right now. But I think Bane's in play. I think Steven Adams is in play. Really, all 5 starters I'm kind of interested in from Memphis. The bench guys, not as high on. But that's really it from the Memphis side. Now on Indiana, we'll have to pay attention to some injury news here. So Indiana actually only had 8 available players last game. Malcolm Brogdon was out, Chris Duarte was out, Lance Stevenson was out, and Goga was out. Again, that left him with only 8 available players. I think all these guys are questionable right now. Goga's questionable, Lance Stevenson is questionable, Chris Duarte is questionable, and Brogdon's questionable too. So a lot of pending injury news here. If we do get a similar situation as to last slate when they played the Hawks, I think that was on Saturday, and they only had 8 available players, I mean, you're definitely going to have to roster some Indiana guys if that happens, because when there's only 8 available players, everyone's just forced to play more minutes. Halliburton would have to play a ton. Buddy Hield would play a ton. Jalen Smith would get a lot of run off the bench. We saw Terry Taylor actually start last game. He played 25 minutes. He wasn't great, but I think 3,200, if Terry Taylor has to start again, I would be interested in him. But if all these questionable guys play, then it's not as appealing because everyone's kind of priced where they should be if all these guys are in. Halliburton at 9,300, I'm probably only going to consider at that price point if Brogdon sits. Brogdon himself, if he plays, is 7,800. I don't hate. He's been productive when he's gotten minutes. Now, coming back from a concussion, will he play his full minutes? I would think so. I don't think there's going to be any limitations on him. I would think he plays 35, 36 minutes here. And again, he's been productive when given opportunity. So really don't hate Brogdon if he's in. Buddy Hield, though, 7,500. Tough to go there on DraftKings. But again, on Yahoo, Buddy Hield's $24 a small forward. He's the same price tag as Dillon Brooks. I do like Dillon Brooks on DraftKings. But when Dillon Brooks and Buddy Hield are the same price tag, I would just rather roster Buddy Hield. So that's why I'm going to side with Buddy Hield over on Yahoo. I think this price tag for Buddy Hield is it's too cheap regardless of who's in or out. If all these guys are out, Buddy Hield looks great. If all these guys play, I still think Buddy Hield's a good option because he's going to get big minutes regardless. I mean, you can look at his games with Indiana. He's playing 35, 36, 37 minutes a night. He played 39 minutes last game. As long as this game can stay close, I think we get mid to high 30s minutes from Buddy Hield. So definitely like him as a small forward option over on Yahoo at $24. Probably my favorite play in general from this game is Buddy Hield on Yahoo. But we'll definitely be targeting some of these other guys if all these questionable players are out. We saw Isaiah Jackson play really well last game. If Goga sits, I'd feel a little bit better about Isaiah Jackson. Same with Brissett. A lot up in the air right now from Indiana. We'll just have to wait and see when it comes to all these questionable guys because that's definitely going to impact my interest in this team if they're in or out. So let's move on to the next game, Brooklyn and Orlando. Looking at Brooklyn today, you got KD and Kyrie at the top. I don't think on this slate either one stand out as priority plays, but again, we do have value, so it's kind of easy to pay up for KD or Kyrie if you want to go that route. Obviously, KD had a massive game last game with Kyrie out. Now that Kyrie's back, I think that definitely caps KD ceiling a little bit. KD can still have a huge game even playing with Kyrie. Just the 75, 80-point game, the 77 that he had last time, I think that's just not as likely. But against Orlando, I don't have an issue going to Kevin Durant today, especially since there's plenty of value and it's pretty easy to pay up for him. Kyrie at 10-2, again, more of a tournament option. Kyrie's ceiling, just not as high as Kevin Durant, but we've seen Kyrie still be able to put up big games. It's just tough to predict when he's going to have those big games. Had a massive game against Charlotte, and then last game against Philly wasn't nearly as good in a blowout. But Kyrie's definitely in play. The rest of Brooklyn, I don't see too much else I really like here. Andre Drummond probably plays mid to high 20s minutes. 5,800, he's definitely playable. He played 27 minutes last game. I would think he gets similar minutes today. You never know how Steve Nash is going to split up those center minutes, but I think Drummond probably gets 24, 25 minutes, which makes him a viable option. Seth Curry's questionable. If he plays, I don't think it really matters. If he's out, I don't think it matters either, especially with Kyrie back. So there's not much else I really like here on Brooklyn. I think my main interests are the 2 stars, and the 2 stars, Brooklyn, KD and Kyrie. Neither one are priority plays for me. They're obviously in play, especially since there's value and you can get to them. Just don't think I'm jamming them in. And then on the other side of this game with Orlando, so when it comes to Orlando, this is normally a team I don't really like to target that often, but I do like the matchup here against Brooklyn. Brooklyn's defense just hasn't been that great this season, and I think this is a pretty good spot for these Orlando guys if this game can stay close. Orlando's playing at home, which I think helps to keep the game close. Wendell Carter Jr., we've seen in close games, he's been playing huge minutes. Played 39 minutes in that overtime game against Philly, played 35 minutes against Minnesota. This Pelicans game was looking like it was going to be a blowout. I think in the fourth quarter, at the start of the fourth quarter, the Magic were up by like 15, and they kind of held the lead for most of the game, so they never brought the starters back in. So Wendell Carter Jr., after 3 quarters, played 29 minutes. He should have played in the fourth quarter. I really don't know why he didn't. But you would have to think if this game's close, we're getting mid to high 30s minutes from Wendell Carter Jr. His minutes have kind of been the most stable of all the starters. At 7,400, I actually do like Wendell Carter Jr. quite a bit today. I like the matchup against Brooklyn. I think this is a spot he can definitely excel in. So I'm looking to him on both sides. On Yahoo, he's $28. I do like him as a power forward option over there. He's for sure my favorite play from Orlando. Cole Anthony is 6'3", I think is fine. I would feel a little bit better about Cole Anthony if Jalen Suggs doesn't play. Jalen Suggs is currently questionable. We've seen Cole Anthony be more productive on a points per minute basis with Suggs off the floor. But 6'3", I think Cole Anthony's a fine option. Mo Bamba at 5,500. I definitely like the matchup for him against Brooklyn and going up against Andre Drummond. It's just tough to predict when Mo Bamba is going to get minutes. Last game he played 33 minutes, which is great, but he wasn't that productive. The game before that, he went nuclear against Minnesota. He put up 50 fantasy points in 32 minutes. He's just been a complete wild card this season. I mean, you never know what you're getting from Mo Bamba, but would I be surprised if he does well here in a good matchup against Brooklyn and against Andre Drummond? I wouldn't be surprised if Bamba has a good game. So more of a tournament play, but viable. Franz Wagner, another guy that's kind of viable, but not someone that really stands out to me. He's going to play mid to high 30s minutes most likely, maybe low 30s minutes. 5,300, playable, but not like my favorite option from Orlando. And then like Jalen Suggs, if he goes for 4,900, I think he's an okay option. That price tag does feel a little bit too cheap for Suggs, especially if we expect him to play his full minutes here, expect the game to stay close. Think he's viable, and that's really it from Orlando. I don't see too much else I really like here. Markelle Fultz, he's been playing pretty well. I think if Suggs does get ruled out, we probably would see like maybe 20, 22 minutes of Markelle Fultz. So far they've been capping him at like 20 minutes. He hasn't played more than 20 minutes this season. Would have to think, though, if Suggs sits, especially if Gary Harris, he's questionable too. Like if Gary Harris and Suggs both sit, at that point I think they kind of have to play Fultz, maybe 24, 25 minutes. And Markelle Fultz has been productive so far this season when he's gotten minutes. He's been a fantasy point per minute player, if not better. So definitely someone I could see keeping my eye on as a value option. But that's probably it for this game. Let's move on to the next game, Detroit and Miami. Starting off on Detroit, not a team I want to get a ton of exposure to today. Obviously, a really tough matchup going up against the Heat. The Heat are a really good defensive team. They play slow. This game has a lot of blowout risk. By some chance, though, if Detroit can keep it close, you would have to think it's probably because Cade Cunningham is having a big game. And, man, Cade Cunningham has been great lately. He's been stuffing the stat sheet, almost had a triple-double last game against the Clippers. Even in some tough matchups, like against Boston, he played really well, had 45 Draftkings points. He's been playing an absurd amount of minutes. He played 44 minutes in regulation last game. Does this continue? I don't really know. But, man, if Cade Cunningham, if they can keep this game close, I think Cade Cunningham is probably the reason why. If you're playing someone on Miami, I think it makes sense to run it back with someone on Detroit, just kind of hoping the game stays close. I don't love Cade in the spot. I think the matchup's really tough. The price tag's also coming up. But, man, he's just been playing so well, and he's playing so many minutes right now that if Detroit keeps this close, wouldn't be surprised if, Cade has another big game. The rest of Detroit, though, like Jeremy Grant, Sadiq Bey, I mean, they're fine, but, these guys never offer much upside. I mean, you can just look at the game log for Jeremy Grant. Most nights he's scoring, 30, 35 DK points. The matchup's not good. I mean, I don't see much interest in Jeremy Grant or Sadiq Bey at their price points. Isaiah Stewart's back today, so that takes me off of Marvin Bagley. He'll definitely lose out on minutes. Then the rest of Detroit, I'm not really playing anyone else on this team. So let's talk about the other side of this game with Miami. Again, a game that has a lot of blowout risk. So rostering these Miami guys today is a little bit risky just because it's not a guarantee these guys play their full minutes. Miami is coming into this game pretty much fully healthy. They're still missing Caleb Martin, but Jimmy is back. So when Jimmy, Bam, Lowry, Hero are all healthy, none of them really stand out at their price points. I mean, Jimmy is usually going to be my favorite of all the Miami guys just because I think he offers the most upside. But, at 8,600, does he stand out as a top option on this slate? I don't think so. I just don't think Jimmy's a guy that I'm really prioritizing. If I had to play anyone on Miami, it would probably be him. But, Bam at 8,200, I mean, I like the matchup for Bam, but does he stand out as a top center play on this slate? I don't think so. Hero and Lowry at their price tags, I don't really love, especially with Jimmy back. Oladipo, I don't really want to play him. I'm not going to play him. He's still on a minutes limit, so yeah, there's just not much interest in Miami here. This is probably my least appealing game on the slate by far. Definitely a game has blowout risk, should be played at a slow pace. I just don't see much interest in targeting a ton of guys in this one. So let's move on to the last game of the night, the Suns and the Pelicans. Another game that has a little bit of blowout risk, but I think the Pelicans can definitely keep this game close, especially if CJ McCollum plays. We'll start off on the Phoenix side, though. So, Devin Booker at 9,600. I think it's a pretty good pay-up option here. Devin Booker's role without Chris Paul should continue to be really, really good. He should continue to play big minutes on a nightly basis, probably 36 to 40 minutes if this is a close game. Matchup going up against the Pelicans and against Herb Jones might not be the best. I'm guessing Herb Jones will guard Devin Booker, and Herb is a really good defender. He's been one of the better defenders this season. But I still think Devin Booker's just going to get so much usage with CP3 off the floor. He's going to play so many minutes that on this 4-game slate, a shorter slate, I think Booker's a really good pay-up option. He's probably up there with, like KD as terms of, top spins on this slate. So definitely like Devin Booker. Cam Payne at 7,700. I think the price tag's gotten to a point where he doesn't really stand out anymore. His upside is definitely there. But, while he's playing with Devin Booker, I just think those 45, 50-point games are not nearly as likely. He obviously was crushing whenever Booker was out, but now that Booker's back, can Payne still do well? He can, but is he going to do well enough to be worth 7,700? I don't think so. So at his price tag, not super high on Cam Payne. I think DeAndre Ayton at 7,300 is still a fine option. He had a huge game last game in only 27 minutes against the Lakers, put up 49 DraftKings points. Matchup here against J-Val, I think is fine. I think Ayton can definitely have success against J-Val, and we know Ayton, if this game's close, will probably play low to mid 30s minutes. So I think at 7,300, Ayton's for sure in play. But the rest of Phoenix, like Mikal Bridges, Jay Crowder, I don't think these guys really stand out. No one else on this team I'm interested in. It's really just Booker. Booker and Ayton are my two favorite plays from the Suns today. And then on the other side of this game with the Pelicans, so right now, CJ McCollum is currently questionable. He's been out with health and safety protocols. Don't know yet if he's going to return for Tuesday's game. It's just kind of, wait and see. If CJ McCollum does return, that pretty much takes me off of Devontae Graham, Herb Jones, really everyone on this team except for J-Val. I think J-Val, regardless, is still in play for me. I would definitely prefer that CJ McCollum be out because I think that does help J-Val, but J-Val can still have a big game even if McCollum's in. I mean, J-Val, he's going to get plenty of minutes. If it's a close game, they're going to need his size out there against Ayton. And we've seen J-Val put up massive games when he gets the minutes. Obviously, he's had some huge games lately without CJ McCollum. Put up a huge game against Orlando. Had a huge game against Houston. Wasn't that great against Charlotte. But I definitely think at 8,600, J-Val is for sure in play on the slate. And I would like him a lot more if McCollum sits. But I think even if McCollum is in, I do like J-Val quite a bit. And honestly, like when you look at the center position, you've got J-Val and Bam as kind of your top two pay-up options. I think I'd take J-Val over Bam straight up, and that might seem like a little bit of a hot take, but I do like J-Val quite a bit today, and on Yahoo, really like J-Val over there. He's only $29 on Yahoo. That just feels way too cheap, especially if McCollum sits. I think J-Val's a great play over there. But then the rest of the Pelicans, so McCollum, if he plays, is a good option. I mean, without Brandon Ingram, CJ McCollum's role is just going to be absurdly good. He's going to play huge minutes, going to get a ton of usage, and we've seen him have big games lately. Without Ingram, even in a blowout against Memphis, 58 DraftKings points in 31 minutes. Last game he played against Orlando, 38 minutes and 48 DraftKings points. So if McCollum plays, did want to hit on that. I do like him as a pay-up option too. But again, the rest of these guys, Devontae Graham, Herb Jones, Trey Murphy, Najee Marshall, you're only going to consider these guys if McCollum sits. Even if he does sit, I mean, Devontae Graham is 7K or almost 7K now, so probably wouldn't even be that high on him or Herb Jones. Najee Marshall has been starting lately in place of CJ McCollum. Devontae Graham's been starting, but we've seen Najee Marshall start as well. I'm guessing that continues here while Ingram's out. So I would prefer McCollum to sit before I went to Najee Marshall. But the last two games that Najee Marshall has started, he has played really well. 29 minutes, 35 DK points. Last game, 37 minutes and 37 DK points. Again, at 5,400, probably only going to consider Marshall at this salary if McCollum's out. If he is, then we can definitely go there. But yeah, that's it for the Pelicans. Another team, it's kind of wait and see. CJ McCollum is going to impact a lot of my interests in this team, whether he's in or out. So we'll have to wait on that. Have to wait on some other question marks and on some other teams like with Indiana, they got a lot of guys questionable. Orlando's got a few guys questionable. But yeah, guys, just a 4-game slate today for Tuesday. But I hope you guys did enjoy this quick breakdown. I appreciate you watching. As always, if you enjoyed, hit that like button down below. Hit that subscribe button as well if you have not yet. We are on the road to 25,000 subscribers, and I'm hopefully going to hit that milestone. Hopefully we are going to hit that milestone maybe by the end of March. I would appreciate if you guys would subscribe if you have not yet. Also, if you're new, go check out the sponsor of the video, PrizePicks. As we mentioned at the beginning, you can sign up for PrizePicks and use my promo code NOAH. They'll match your first deposit up to $100 when you do sign up with my code. And if you guys want my favorite plays on PrizePicks each day, we gave out 6 plays on Patreon for PrizePicks on Monday. Went 6-0. Didn't get a single pick wrong. Hopefully we can do that again for Tuesday's slate. I do have a lot more content posted on Patreon. My PrizePicks plays, along with all of my other updated DFS content, our Discord chat, that's all available for Patreon members. Check that out. Link down below in the description if you are interested. But best of luck on the slate, guys. I appreciate you watching as always. I hope you enjoyed. We'll see you in the next video.